actually changed the preliminary title a little because I didn't like the term artistic filler injections. But as the excellent previous presentation shows, thank you for those, you know that there are different factors that matter for a perfect outcome. And just to give you an idea of my personal history, I'm a board-certified dermatologist, and I did my training at a university clinic in Germany, and after that I stayed another 10 years at this clinic as a senior doctor, and I was also doing fundamental research, cellular immunology, especially on T-cells, T-cell transfer in a mouse model, and then on autoimmune disease, psoriatic arthritis, and in the late 90s also by accident on polynucleotides and nucleotide receptors. I will just briefly show you something about that at the end. And then I turned into aesthetic. And with this mindset of history of research and fundamental science, I'm always very, very critical if I'm using a product and if I'm trying to change to a new product. And this is my view and my perspective how I am using dermal fillers as well. And within the next 30 minutes I will show you why Chroma hyaluronic acid fillers convinced me and fulfill my very, very high expectations in terms of safety and performance. So you all know it's a very crowded market, and we saw the statistics. Dr. Truck showed us, no, Fuck, is it pronounced right? Fuck. Showed us the market is still growing, although we see different materials coming in, and you all know the rumors about hyaluronic acid usage is dropping down due to rumors of filler migration, side effects, but specifically in our country, and it was interesting for me to hear, as far as I understood, that also in your country, patients are worried about two things: safety and aesthetic outcome. No one who's undergoing a filler treatment wants to have an exaggerated, unnatural result. It's completely different to surgery. If I pay a lot of money for facial surgery, then I want you to see what I have done, but not with HA fillers, at least in the majority of our patients. So, can we fulfill these expectations of our patients? And as you know, Chroma is a family-owned manufacturing site and company which was founded in Vienna, and the Chroma family is still running this, and the father and mother of the now CEO Andreas Prinz founded a little pharmacy. And if you ever have the chance to visit the manufacturing site, you will be mind blown, because this is a high tech and high standard manufacturing site. I was really impressed to see, and one main factor, and this contributes to the safety of the products, is that they managed to reduce the human factor to a minimum. This avoids the risk of contaminations, and to my opinion, this is one key factor why we hardly never see any inflammatory side effect or late inflammatory immune reactions on Chroma filler injections. So just to give you a brief overview, and this will be the new syringe you will also have in the very next future. We have specific criteria in terms of regulatory, and this is in the US, as you know, the FDA approval, and in Europe we used to have a rather lower hurdle to overjump. This was the CE, but the European Union had a new law, and every medical fillers now have to fulfill those very, very strict criteria. That means for every company manufacturing a filler, they have to provide extensive clinical trials. And the CHROMA Saypha portfolio is among the competitors, the first one who fulfilled those criteria. So for us as injectors, and at the end of the day, for our patient, this matters. This matters to know we have a proven, safe product, and this brings some specific demands. They have to bypack a leaflet where you can watch which clinical trials were performed and several other things. So if you let me navigate through the portfolio, I will just very briefly tell you some data and performance facts about the fillers. We have mainly the 3HA, and it was shown in the previous presentation, with a different ratio of mainly cross-linked and non-cross-linked, and with different concentrations. The filler is with a 23 milligram per ml and volume plus, both with 25, and the ratio between volume and volume plus between the cross-linked and non-cross-linked varies a little. So this characterizes the characteristics of the gel in the tissue. So this in summary. And what they also changed, and this is again something I never experienced before, and I used to use, and as I told you, I'm over 20 years now in aesthetics, so I'm using all the big brands, Galderma fillers, THioXan fillers, Merz fillers, Allergan fillers, but I was never ever involved in any changes or decisions made by a huge company. This is different with CHROMA. They ask us as users, as injectors, what do you like and what don't you like with the syringe? And they implemented our advice in the development and in the design of the new syringe. And this is what I highly appreciate. They really listen and they really do what is for our better and for the patient's benefit. So the new syringe comes with a very practical color code, so you can easily see this is filler, the light blue one, the orange one volume, and the purple one volume plus. And this is, I mean, it's a detail, but for me it matters. They reverted the scale. In the older one, the scale was the other way around. And if you imagine injecting, you showed excellent videos of your injection technique. I really appreciated this. Very great compliments and excellent results, I have to say. I assume you look at the tissue more than on the scale. But sometimes we want to see how much have we injected and how much is left in the syringe. And then for me, it's easier if the scale is the other way around. So we told them and they did it. So those details matter for me at the end of the day. As you mentioned, there are extensive clinical trials performed on any of the products and published, and you can check them in the leaflets if you want. So they fulfill very, very high criteria for approval, and there is a need to do post-marketing surveillance studies as well. So if you choose the CHROMA fillers, you have the guarantee to have a high standard premium quality filler in your hand and for your patient. So the continuous monitoring also figured out that the rate of adverse events and side effects is extremely low. So over the years, the complaint rate was less than 0.005%. This is almost nothing. So what does it mean for us in our daily practice when we are choosing this product and injecting the patients. We have the Volume Plus. This is the product approved for volume restoration in the mid-phase, and it has, and this is important, and I don't know who of you is injecting one of the other products mentioned here. Who of you is an injector of Restylane product range? Any Restylane users in the auditorium? No one. Who is injecting Juvederm? So, I'm curious now, what about Redensity 2, 3, 4, 5? THчадO? Injecting THчадO sometimes? Did you? Yes, me too. And what didn't I mention? Belotero? Me as well. So, I have experience with all of them, and I assume some of you don't have to say, but what do we want? We want to restore volume, and we saw very nicely on your cadaver dissections and the skeleton the dynamics of the aging phase. So we want to restore where we know that the deep fat tissue is resorbed and leads to the visual signs of an age phase. So we know where to inject, and we know we want to inject as few material as necessary. We don't want to blow up the faces, because we also know, and this was nicely shown in your presentations, the HA molecule is able to retain water, and we don't want a swelling, we don't want that the patient goes out and looks nicely and calls the day after or 2 days after and says, oh, I look like a full moon face, yeah? So what we want is a material that has a very high potential, great potential to volumize and to project with a high G prime. This is the factor we call G prime. This is the viscosity of the gel that allows us to project very precisely where we inject it. And compared with the competitors, Saypha Volume Plus has the highest G prime among all those other HA fillers. And if you look, does this come, and all advantages come with some disadvantages, does this come with the need to put stronger pressure on the plunger? Because then at the end of the day, I will have a pain in my thumb, and maybe I will go back to my THчадO or Restylane filler, because I cannot inject 6-8 patients a day if I have to have a strong extrusion force. But this is not the case. If you compare the extrusion force that is needed to extrude a precise volume of the filler, it's not higher with Volume Plus compared to the others. So you have an easily injectable high G prime material that allows you a very precise volumization of the midface or of a very deep nasolabial fold. So also the clinical data are very convincing. The data show that after 1 month, 100% of patients were super happy, and even after more than 1 year, over 78% of the patients the patients were happy, still happy with the results. So long-lasting and easy to do. The same for the nasolabial fold with the volume, which is a little more combined with a non-cross-link, so it has a little lower G prime. It allows very natural correction in mobile areas, because, and here another factor comes in, it's not only about the viscosity but also about the elasticity of the gel. So in areas where we have very strong strong mechanical stress on the implant, on the injected gel, due to mobility of our facial muscles around the mouth. If we are laughing, if we are eating, speaking, we always have stress on this implant, and this can be measured, this resistance to mechanical stress. And if you look again, if you compare the G prime of Saypha volume plus on the right hand side, Saypha volume in the middle, and Saypha filler left, you have different G prime, so it allows different projection, but you have the ideal balance between the G prime, the viscosity, and the elasticity in the tissue. So this means for mobile areas like the perioral region, the nasolabials, the marinette lines, volume is an ideal choice. If you want to go more superficial, and you showed this very nicely in this area when you did with the cannula, with the filler, the more superficial correction, then we choose the filler with the lowest G prime, and we also have excellent data on this. This is engineered with lower G prime and is also ideal product in my hands for the lips. And I will tell you, you will have this specific lip product in the very near future in Vietnam available as well. So again, performance and precision matters for us and for our patients. That means if we are injecting and if we are pushing the plunger with the same strength, we want to know that we have the same amount of gel in the tissue every time. Is this true for every product within the range? If we compare filler, volume, and volume plus, or do we have to have stronger force if we inject volume plus compared to filler? So this means it's the predictability, and again, here you see the comparison of the different G prime values of high volumizing products, and you see it's just Restylane Lift and the Volux and Voluma, which have a higher G prime than the volume plus. So now they measured in the Chroma facility, they measured if the extrusion force has to be among the same if you're injecting filler, volume, or volume plus. And this was true, and this is a little not so easy to read. This means the range between the force needed to inject the same amount of gel within the portfolio of one brand. And you see this range of injection force is the smallest among the Saypha fillers compared to the others. That means if you, for example, take Belotero or Restylane, you need much more force for Restylane Lift than for Restylane Saypha. So for me, it makes it much easier. I know I inject pretty much the same way with the same strength, and I know what I will get. And here you see this visualized, same pressure, same amount of filler, doesn't matter which material. So if you again look at this elasticity, and the third value comes in, and this is tau. Tau is the balance between the viscosity and the elasticity of the gel. So we are injecting in the mid-dermal layer, and then the mechanical stress comes in. And if you're comparing the deformation or the deterioration of the gel among mechanical stress with the projection capacity and draw a line, then you see the lines are crossing somewhere, and the more on the right they're crossing, the better the gel resists to mechanical forces within the tissue. And here it is compared Restylane Lift with Saypha Volume Plus. So similar indication, volume deficiency correction. The light blue lines are the Restylane Lift, and you see they are crossing here, whereas the Saypha Volume Plus is crossing far more right. That means it has a much better flexibility in the tissue among mechanical stress. For me, this makes it the better choice for many indications. So with that, I would love to share with you 3 or 4 of my cases, and maybe you can also give, and please don't be shy, give your ideas and advice. First patient, she is, I mean, we are all dermatologists, I assume. Anyone not dermatology trainee or dermatologist, other specialties, ophthalmology or ENT, facial plastic. So if I see a patient like her, my instinct advice would be topical acne treatment, I have to say. And I'm still very clinically, so I think she definitely needs change of her skincare routine and maybe some chemical peels or laser treatments. But if we look at her, what is our instinct idea? What could bother her? Any idea? So I can tell you. She came in, she is in her early 40s, maybe a little too late. Like, if I understood you right, you recommend to come a little earlier because then you have an easier job to make those patients happy. Of course, she's very sporty, she's a runner, so she looks really a little exhausted. She doesn't look really old, but I would say she looks exhausted. So what she wanted is not to have a visible change of her shape, but she wanted to have a more refreshed look without changing too much. And what I decided to correct her mid-face volume deficiency more in the middle, between the middle and the lateral cheek fat pad, and to give her, I didn't want to erase her nasolabial fold, but I wanted to do, I tell them it's like a filter. And I see you are all very professional in making pictures for TikTok, and I had the chance to have a very nice portrait of us with a very nice filter, so we look really beautiful on that. So, and this is what we want to achieve. It's an illusion. Like with the filter, we don't want to erase this nasolabial fold. She had that before, and I try to convince her, and this is the product we have available and you will have available very soon. The lips with pretty much the same gel properties compared to the filler. And this is what we did. I did inject her lateral cheekbones. I did it sharp on bone, boli. Would you have chosen cannula for her? You always use cannula. You are a cannula fan. I am from some areas, but in her, I think I can more precisely say volume. I can really precisely restore the volume deficiency here. And yeah, here I did the nasolabial fold, retrograde, linear, and I did very, very, very few on her lips. And this is, I'm not sure if it's a little stretched on this perspective, but you see her 1 month after. She was happy. She looks much more relaxed, less tired, I would say. And this less tired look is due to the fact that we could shorten her lid-cheek junction indirectly without touching her tear trough. always try to wait with the tear trough, or most time I wait, because you know in this area some patients tend to swelling, and if I can indirectly improve her tear trough deformity by restoring her mid-face volume, I prefer this. And this was not very much material. As I learned yesterday, it's similar to us. You are charging the patients by syringe. Am I right? So you don't charge by, let's say, region or result. Because there are some colleagues telling us, no, I have one price and I promise them this idea. And but we also do more or less by syringe, and then price matters for every patient. So with pretty few material, we could achieve a very visible and nice result. Also, her skin quality improved a little. Maybe she's taking more care of her skincare routine as well. I will have to ask her. So this is what I call a very demanding patient, because she has a very strong skin, and we call it a heavy face. So I definitely don't want to volumize her, and she was very, very restrictive, and it was her first treatment, and she wanted me to start very, very subtle, and she was specifically concerned with her nasolabial fold. But this is a very difficult area in her to treat. Of course, you can start with the bolus in the piriform fossa and then go linear retrogradely, but you will never, never, never achieve that this deep, deep nasolabial fold will be invisible. So what did I do again? I convinced her that she would benefit from volumizing or contouring. I prefer contouring over volumizing in my wording with those patients, because if they hear volume, they are, oh no, I don't want volume. I have enough volume. I have too much volume in my face. So I told her I contour her mid-face, and then I go for the nasolabial fold and a little beautification of her lips. What she doesn't need is more volume or contour, but she looks very dry with her lips. And this is what we did, or what I did. Very, very small volumes, 1 milliliter in total of the volume plus for the lateral cheekbones, nasolabials with the volume, and lips with the Saypha lip. And this is how she looks 1 month after. And you see it's again, the reflection of the light is different due to the less deep impression of her nasolabial fold, and also a shortening of the lip cheek junction due to recruitment of the skin from the lateral part. So she was happy, and I hope she would trust me to go for her lower face in the future, to contour her chin and her jawline. Third one, early 30s, a 32-year-old young mother. Working mom, very, very tired. She told me she's almost not sleeping a night, and she was concerned and bothered by her under eye area. But would you directly inject her tear trough? Would you? Or would you be worried about her swelling here? I can tell you, I didn't. Again, I first did mid-face, nasolabial, and I did augment her chin. But also with low volumes, volume plus for her mid-cheeks, volume for the nasolabial fold, filler for the lips, and Volume Plus for chin and jawline. And this is her, and I did this not in one session, I have to say. I could, but I didn't. It's also a matter of the budget. Patients like if they don't have to pay the whole amount of money at once. So I split it for every 4 weeks, and then we get used to each other. She can gain trust in my injections, and she's still very happy with that. But we heard a lot about skin quality, skin texture, and the potential of skin booster, HA, as a very, very excellent skin booster. And therefore, I didn't want to hide one biostimulator patient from you. She is in her late 50s. I would say she looks pre-aged due to her sun-damaged skin. And of course, she also has very prominent dynamic wrinkles on her forehead and glabella. I also treated them. So she was a combined treated patient with botulinum toxin and the 𝐁𝐀𝐒 skin booster by Chroma. 3 sessions, 3 weeks apart, 1 ml each session, and this is the result 2 weeks after her 3rd session. So forehead, of course, is the effect of the neuromodulator. It was the THчадO from Chroma that we have available. And for the rest of her face, nothing but the 𝐁𝐻. And I think this is a nice result, and it shows nicely the potential of the non-cross-linked HA with the glycerol, how to improve the skin quality in its many facets. And this brings me to just a teaser, and you can be really, really happy and looking forward to having very soon the Chroma polynucleotides in Vietnam as well. And as I mentioned at the very beginning, I have a history with polynucleotide. This reaches more than 20 years back because I was investigating the effect of nucleotides and polynucleotides on cell maturation and differentiation in vitro in human blood-derived precursor cells, and it made definitely I was wondering why it took so long till polynucleotides made their way into aesthetics, because we have so many data on the potential to promote regenerating fibroblasts, to promote anti-inflammatory effects, and addressing every facet which we perceive improvement of skin quality. And you will have the whole portfolio, as I know. So polyfill is the trout, salmon-derived, highly purified polynucleotide range, and you will have it for as the polyfill, the pure polyfill, one product for hair, and next, which is combined with non-cross-linked HA and mannitol. And I just show you some examples. This is one example of my patient, just polynucleotide treatment 3 times with a polyfill. Next, and this is a very typical patient that I'm treating with polynucleotides with a polyfill. This is a post-isotretinoin treated patient, some month after a 6-month period of isotretinoin systemically, and we all know those patients with this persistent erythema and those small little acne scars, and she was injected 3 times, and 8 weeks after, you see an improvement in all facets of her skin condition. Less scars, less redness, more shiny, more glowy skin. And my first experiences I gained with scar treatment, and I will highly recommend to treat scars, either fresh or mature scars are improving dramatically if you're injecting polynucleotides. This is 1 month in the middle, it was a mountain bike accident, 6 weeks ago on the left side, in the middle 1 month after 3 treatment sessions, and on the right side 1 year after another 3 treatments, and you see an improvement of her whole skin texture as well. So, and again, on the forehead, a very severe scar, again after a cycling accident, so it's dangerous in Germany as well, even though we don't have so many motorcycles on the streets. But you see this 1.5-year-old scar on the forehead, so this is definitely a mature scar, and I wasn't so optimistic, but after 1 single treatment in the middle, you see this dramatic improvement, and on the right after 3 treatments. So it improved in terms of skin texture as well as skin redness. And my last one is again probably the next patient. So hair, I don't know if you are treating hair loss patients with PRP or what your protocol is. This is a patient undergoing chemotherapy 17 years ago, and her hair didn't regrow properly, and we injected 3 times the polyfill hair in her, and this was her after 10 weeks in total. So you can be lucky, and I would be happy to come back because I'm highly appreciating your hospitality, and thank you, goodbye.